Welcome to the Magic and Miracles podcast, where we share and explore profound stories that bring science and spiritual together in the most illuminating and unexpected ways. A miracle is defined as something outside the realm of what you believe is possible for you. These stories will lift and enlighten, showing you that anything is possible. I am your host, Nicole Majik. Join me as we dive into real-life extraordinary stories that will captivate your curiosity, shift your mindset, and bring healing to your soul. From real-life angels to the strange and paranormal, get ready to embark on a new, inspiring journey with each episode that prove magic and miracles happen every day. Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another episode of Magic and Miracles. And I have a very special guest here today. His name is Craig Addy, and he is the musician who listens to the listener. His purpose as a creator and performer is to provide nurturing, healing, and beautiful musical experiences. During his Under the Piano sessions and piano performances, Craig asks his listeners things like, what is your experience of life right now? What are your dreams? And what are you creating? Their answers inspire improvised piano music that captures the essence of what is shared at an emotional level. Welcome here today, Craig. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
Excellent. So what you do is super unique. First, I'd love for you to describe what happens, and then we're going to get into how did this even come about.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
just describe to the audience right now, like, what is Under the Piano session?
Yes. Well, I mean, what happens is that the individual or the couple, or sometimes even small groups come, but usually it's individuals or couples. They come to my studio here and they sit on my couch over there, just out of view, and I have a conversation with them. I don't, like I'm not a counselor or anything, so I don't do any, consulting or advising. I just listen, and I invite them to share about themselves. It might just be, where they come from, where they were born, their interests, their passions. But sometimes when people share, they really open up and they share about the tough stuff that's going on in their life, or the stuff they're excited about, something that they're really excited that's coming up in their life. So they share all of that with me. Then I also invite them, if they want to create an intention for their Under the Piano session. So, oh, I want to feel peaceful. I want to feel relaxed, as an example, right? So that happens. And then I invite them to lie underneath my grand piano, this piano here. And it's very comfortable. There's like a big foam mattress and silk sheets and cushions, and it's very luxurious under there. And they lie under there. And then I improvise a concert of music for about 40 minutes that is inspired by everything they shared with me. So it's all improvised. Each session is unique. And if they created an intention, it'll be mostly that mood. But I really take people through a journey, through the highs and lows of life. And, some of it's happy, some of it's sad. I really go through the whole gamut of emotions with people, usually. And as they're lying there, of course, it's a very immersive experience because you're not just hearing the sound, you're feeling the sound. Like, people can feel the vibrations. And so many people say it feels like they just had a 2-hour massage when they come out from under the piano.
Oh, wow.
But it's got that emotional component as well. So it's very powerful.
Yeah, I can only imagine because, especially since everything is energy and vibration and frequency,
Yeah.
having that experience that is a full body experience all the way through to your core.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how all of this came about for you to even get to this point to be doing this with other people.
Well, there were it's a 3-part story.
Okay.
That happened throughout my life. The first part was when I was a child and I was playing piano. I think I started when I was about 5. I have to ask my mom. I can't remember when I started, but I was young. And my mom was also a very fine pianist, and she had gone back to having lessons, so she was playing a lot of music, much more advanced than me, of course. And she bought a grand piano. And my mom would be at the grand piano, playing Chopin nocturnes and Schubert impromptus. Those were her favorites. And being a kid, I would just crawl under the piano when she was playing sometimes. It was kind of like I don't know if you ever did this. I think a lot of kids did this. They would take furniture and they would put it on its side and they get blankets and drape them over and make these little forts,
Yes.
and you would have passageways and a little lamp in there so you could hang out in your fort. It was kind of like being in a fort, only instead of a blanket, you had this bubble of sound because it's like you're in this little world. Like stuff outside disappears because you're just immersed in the sound. So that's what I did as a kid. And then I got into my teens and I stopped doing it. I mean, it wasn't like conscious, but teenagers don't get under the piano. That sort of thing. So this is the second piece of how I ended up doing what I'm doing. So I was, really excited to go to high school. All these new people, all these new classes, everything was new, right? I was really excited, and then it didn't go that well for me. I guess there was something different about me or something about the way I was behaving or presenting myself, but I got bullied, you know? And I didn't know what to do. I was so shocked. And, I tried some things to stop it and they didn't work. And, I was never physically bullied, but I was, the threat it was very frightening. And, the worst thing about being bullied is really the humiliation and the embarrassment. I was just so embarrassed. And so I didn't tell my parents, I didn't tell my siblings. I didn't want anyone to know. So I was going to school every day and really I was just terrified. And at the same time that this was happening, my piano teacher gave me a new piece of music, and it was a Chopin nocturne. And it was like the first really meaty adult piece of classical music I'd been given. But that nocturne, I tell you, it had everything I was going through in it. All the pain and the sadness, um, the desire to be free and peaceful. It was all in that piece. And it's dramatic to say it, but it's kind of like it saved me because I could pour everything into that piece and get rewarded for it rather than ridiculed. And so that's really when, music as a healing and nurturing vehicle was sealed for me. That's when my mission started with learning that piece. And at the end of the year, my piano teacher had this big piano recital. She had a lot of students, and I played my Chopin. And that's when I learned that it makes a difference for other people too, not just me. Because people came up to me after and they were moved and, really impressed with the music. So then I went to music school and I finished UBC music school, and I didn't quite know what I wanted to do with my music. So I went into business with my dad for like 20 years doing a graphic design and printing thing. And, there came a point where my dad retired, and I just, all the music got pushed aside when that happened. So I wasn't, like, it was kind of gradual, so I wasn't aware of it. But it got to the point where the end of the day would come at work, and I was just like, I could not get out of there fast enough. I just didn't want to be there. I was so unhappy. And I was in a networking group, and there was a business coach in the group. And he kept inviting other people in the group to come and have a complimentary session with him so they could see how he works and refer people to him. So okay, I'll do that. So I go to this session with this business coach. And I'll tell you, 15 minutes in, I'm in a pool of tears. I don't want to do this anymore. I was just, yeah, he was a good coach. So I worked with him and I went back to my music. And one of the things that I shared with him were my piano improvisations. So all along I'd always been like improvising at the piano, but it was just something I did for myself. And he was really moved by those recordings. And so I went back to music, and I had a fellow clarinet player from music school days who joined me, and we did weddings and gigs like that. And one day he came into the practice room. He was usually there earlier than me. I was there earlier than him, and I was just improvising. And he's going, "What's that?" And I say, "Oh, I'm just making it up." And he's kind of going, "What? That sounds like a composed piece." So the cat was kind of out of the bag, and he insisted I start improvising at our concerts. And so it became so integral to what I did, and we did, because he could play along with me. It's an incredible ear, that we were doing entire improvised concerts. And we're
Wow.
finally we're finally getting to the third piece of the puzzle. So I was reading this book called The Piano Shop on the Left Bank. It's a delightful book, and it's about all these stories about old pianos and the people around them, the connections. And I think it's chapter 21. I don't know why I'm thinking it's 21. I opened, and there was the title of the chapter was Fazioli. Now, have you heard of a Fazioli?
No.
Okay, a Fazioli it's kind of the new kid on the block. It's an Italian piano, and they're just like handcrafted, just
Uh,
beautiful. I mean, when I read about it, I said, "Oh, I want to play one of those." But they're none around here, right? They're quite rare at this point. And Howard, the clarinetist, was walking down Broadway here in Vancouver, and there was a new store opening called Showcase Pianos, and he looked in, at the back, and there was this big sign on the back that said Fazioli. So I was in that piano shop like a flash when they opened, and I'm playing these pianos, and like, when you imagine how something's going to be, but it's not like that, it's just better. That's what the Faziolis were like. And
oh,
they had a 9-foot concert grand Fazioli in the store. There was one other pianist in there playing the pianos, and at some point he was on the other side of the room playing that 9-foot Fazioli. And I still don't know why. I looked across. I guess I was feeling playful or something. And I suddenly thought about being that kid crawling under my mom's piano. So I walked over to this guy. He doesn't know me, right? I said, "Just keep playing. I'm going to crawl under the piano." So I did. I crawled under the piano, and I'm remembering my childhood, and I'm noticing how great it feels. Like I can feel my body vibrating. So I go home, and I just kind of keep thinking about this experience. And finally, like 2, 3 weeks later, I had some friends over to my place to see what they thought. And they each took turns getting under my grand piano. The same grand piano my mom played, by the way. It was the same piano. She gave it to me. And they were all, "This is not like listening to a piano from across the room. This is amazing." And one of them said, Catherine Wood said to me, "You should make it a business, and you should call it Under the Piano." And that's where it all started. That was in 2009.
wow. That is a fascinating story. And thank you so much for sharing this because I love hearing how things just develop, right? And
Yes.
that's one of my imaginative elements of curiosity when I think about how did this come into existence? And I just imagine whether it's a conversation between two people or somebody's need for something and then how it could come about. And sometimes the things that I conjure up in my head are just off the wall, funny as heck,
Yeah.
or very, very serious, right? And this has all these different elements of that inner child, full body sound healing, and just all these sacred synchronicities all along the way through your
Yeah.
life in how this developed and having that conversation where somebody just goes, "Oh, you should do this." And yes, it's a thing.
Yes.
So when you made that decision that, yeah, I think I'm going to try this, or yes, I'm absolutely going to do this, who was that first person that got to crawl under your piano? Do you?
I kind of know who some of the first people were. I don't remember who was the actual first person after those three. I mean, I experimented for a while. I wanted to find out whether it was uniformly a positive experience for people. So, I experimented for a couple months, and it was. I mean, everybody loved it. Um, I remember a couple people. I remember a friend of mine named Jill, um, and another friend named Janet. I think they were some of the earlier ones. Um,
And what was their experience? What did they, after they tried it out, what was that feedback that you got that made you say, yeah, I definitely have to keep doing this?
I remember Jill saying something like it was like you were playing the movie of my life.
Hmm.
Um, I think her testimonial says that. It really takes people places, right? It's things that showed up. People keep on remembering their like um, situations from the past, people or being out in nature. They would have visions like that all the time. There are some stories that then things happened with people that were like really shocking.
Oh,
I don't
yeah,
know if you want any of those stories. So
absolutely. Please share.
yeah. So the first one that happened was this woman. She was referred by someone in my networking group. I didn't know her. She was from Toronto, and she came and she sat on my couch, and then she shared about how both her husband and her son had died of cancer the year before.
Wow.
And she shared how um, she turned to alcohol. So she had become an alcoholic. It was dark. It was really dark, right? And as I said, I don't counsel. I just listen. So she got onto the piano after sharing all that, and I played what I played, and it was shocking to me. It was cathartic for her.
Wow.
Um, and that's when I started realizing sometimes we don't have words to express what we're going through. And I think sometimes we just hold everything in. And music has that power to just kind of go right through that stuff and open it up for people.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Um, and one more, if there's time, one more story that
Yes,
was very memorable.
please.
A woman I knew brought a friend for a session, and they shared quite a bit about themselves, but as I was discovered, they didn't share everything. So they got onto the piano, and I came to the end of the session. Now, as a musician, I'm being emotional as a musician, but there was a heightened emotion for me as I came to the end of the session. Like I was tearing up myself, which is unusual. And they got up from under the piano and they sat on the couch. And the friend turned to me and she said, "Thank you for getting me out of my body." I'm kind of going, no one said that to me before. And then she said, what I didn't tell you was that I have fourth stage cancer and I have to take medication constantly to relieve the pain. And during my under the piano session, I was free of the pain.
Wow. That's very
So, I mean,
powerful.
yeah, I mean, so, there's been numerous sessions with people either dealing with grief or with physical well being issues where it's made a difference. I don't know how long lasting it is, but at least they had that time.
Yeah. And whatever it is, any amount of that, whatever healing that brought to them on the physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual, I'm sure it was profound, even if it's on a subconscious level,
Yeah,
because really when we think about it, that energy and vibration and frequency, that is everything. So even if it's just shifted a little bit, the ripple effect can be extremely profound.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. Great stories. Thank you for sharing those.
Welcome.
these are the miracles, right? This is the
Yeah,
magic and miracles that everyday things can provide when we really
yeah.
just tap in.
So I
Thank you
think you
so
were mentioning
much.
could you're welcome. I think you were mentioning could you have some music? Yeah.
Yes, would
So
you like to play some?
absolutely. So yeah, so Nicole, would you like to create with me like what you would like the music to be about or what, intention you would have that it be about?
Yeah, I you had mentioned, grief and that kind of thing. And with people passing, we've talked about a few people before we got on. What I would like to hear is maybe when we're remembering people that we love, so that way there we can kind of share in this as a collective experience too, in some ways, as we're kind of tapping
Yes.
into what I would like to hear when we're remembering people that we love, just bringing that energy of the essence of them to the surface and all of those wonderful memories that we have, that because I feel that is what helps us alleviate the grief and allow that grief to process through and flow through. So that's the energy that I would like to tap into is,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
when we remember those who we love, that healing energy that comes through that allows the grief to go, and bringing that love vibration in to our cells, our being.
Okay. And for
Right.
you, does that look so remembering the love, remembering the good times, um, energetically, what does that look like for you? Is it happy or is it loving and calming? Is there?
When I think of that, I think about like a loving reflection of the essence of when we look at someone else and we see the things that we love in other people, it's also a reflection of who we are too, right? So it's that interconnectedness. So when
Mm-hmm.
we look at somebody else, when we remember them, and in that space, it's that interconnectedness. It brings it right back full circle as the we are all one.
Okay.
So it's like an ever
Awesome. Yeah.
living, ever loving sensation.
Beautiful. Okay. Let's go. I'm gonna turn my voice mic off for this because it.
That was absolutely 100% beautiful. Good thing
Oh,
I
good.
had tissues nearby.
Uh,
That was wonderful. Thank you so much. I can still feel like when that vibration of love just like ripples out, like my ears tear, my eyes tear up, and like I can't stop it even if I try. It's just
yeah.
it's that's so beautiful. And it captured exactly what I think of, what I feel when I was trying to put it in the words. There are no words. It's
Yes.
ineffable, right? And,
Yeah.
and you just let it come out, and that's exactly it. I could see memories and feel memories of things, not just for myself but for other people, in
Hmm.
the audience, people that I know, and it was all encapsulating. That was fantastic. I kept thinking, God, I wonder what it is like under that piano right now.
Yes. 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 Yeah.
I felt like I
Yeah.
could feel like an etheric version of it, but wow, I could only imagine what that feels like under that piano at that moment for people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this. And
Oh, you're welcome.
whew, everybody, whew, did you tap into that? Is there anything else that you want to share, talk about? Anything else, Craig?
Well, I mean, I guess the only thing to put in is that there's two elements done to the piano. One is the physical experience of it, and the other is the part you had is the recreation, the capturing the emotional essence. And so, of course, when COVID came along, I kind of stopped doing sessions for a while, and I used to play in hospitals a lot. That everything came to a stop. So I started experimenting with online sessions. So I have discovered, the online experience can be very powerful. So, things have happened online too. So, if you can't come to Vancouver, you can still get me online. Yeah.
That's great to know,
Yeah.
because and that's a perfect, opportunity for us to capture, if somebody does want to connect with you, what is the best
Yeah.
way for them to do that?
I actually have two websites. So there's underthepiano.ca, and then there's also craigaddy.com. So you can find me in
Okay,
both
great.
those
And
places, and there's contact information is on both of them.
perfect. And I will have that in the description as well. So all of you who are out there who have listened to that, I would love to hear what your comments are for your experience in this little slice of heaven that Craig just played for us. And please follow him, connect with him, and maybe get your own experience done. And I hope that this was inspiring and brought some peace to you and welled up that feeling of love and memories of your loved ones as well. So thanks all for listening. Thank you, Craig, again for being here. And mwah, until next
Thank you.
time.
It was wonderful to be with you.
Thank you for joining us for the Magic and Miracles podcast, where everyday folks like you share their life-changing stories. The world wants to hear your extraordinary story. So is it about time you tell it? You might just end up being someone else's miracle waiting to happen. If you would like to be a guest on the show, please submit your application for consideration. If you would like to nominate a guest or submit a personal story to be read on the show, please contact us via email. In the meantime, enjoy the journey. You never know when you will experience a miracle that will change your life forever, or if you will become someone else's real-life angel. Goodbye for now, and see you on the next episode of Magic and Miracles, the podcast with wings.